World tour or surveillance? Yes. World tour or surveillance? We go to X, formerly known as Twitter. Twitter X is what I call it. And a South African man brings up a that maybe some of us haven't had, or maybe some of us haven't connected the parallel. Let's go to Twitter X, and first there's a tweet, and then there's a video that follows. I'll read for you guys, and then we'll watch the video together. All right, so this is by Vusi. I'm sorry. I'm from East Africa, Southern African names, beautiful, but for me, it's tough to pronounce. So we'll just call him Vusi T. So Vusi says and tweets, there's a documentary about how the CIA used Louis Armstrong. You with me? About how the CIA used Louis Armstrong's Africa tour as cover for surveillance. For those that don't know, trumpet great, jazz great, pioneer, Louis Armstrong toured Africa, and he especially loved Congo, and Congo loved him back. But yes, so when the star that big arrives in a country, its leaders want to meet them. That access was the entire point. I watched that documentary, Vusi says. Then I watched I Show Speed, streamer extraordinaire. For those that don't know, Darren Watkins Jr. out of Cincinnati, Ohio. I Show Speed is what he goes by, and he toured Africa and the Caribbean this year. But he says, I then watched I Show Speed's tour Africa with a Starlink device Elon Musk personally gave him that is not yet available to the public. This is interesting because Elon Musk is now the owner of Twitter X, guys. But I love what he did for Africa's visibility. I'm not making a statement, but my conspiratorial brain will not fully cooperate. Let's go ahead and watch the video and exactly on what he's talking about, what he's trying to connect, Let's take a listen. Come on, don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. Okay, hold on. We're going to get this video. Okay, so it's Vusi. We're going to go to Instagram. Stand by, guys. Okay.
Real quick, too, I did a reading of a paper, and it might have been from that same author that Anthony brought up about Booker T. Washington being Booker T. Washington and Pan-Africanism. So you guys could look back in the archives of videos, do a search. It really was a good read because most people, I realized, did not know or even think of Booker T. Washington being a Pan-Africanist. And there's evidence to that, like Anthony said and others. But yeah, if you go and you search under the Bitter Medicine podcast video, you should find a few readings about Booker T, one of them being his Pan-Africanism.
Appreciate it, Koku. All right, good news, guys. I found a way to watch the video. Let's go to Instagram and let's watch Vusi T talk about the parallels between Louis Armstrong's visit to the African continent and I Show Speed's visit to the African continent and the Caribbean.
Ago. I forget the name of the documentary now, but on the face of the documentary is the face of Patrice Lumumba. This documentary talks about how Louis Armstrong was actually used by the CIA, sent to Africa on a tour in Africa. And they thought they on this tour in Africa as a cultural exchange and to do music, etc. It turns out that the CIA was actually using them to surveil the country, to gain access to the leaders of those countries. Because when a star that big arrives in that country, guess what? The leaders of the country will want to meet with them. And he then later found out that this is what the CIA was actually doing. It's horrifying stuff. That's why, as much as I love what I Show Speed was doing in Africa, there's a part of my conspiratorial brain that looks at this and goes, So this kid came to Africa, went to all of these countries, and was carrying this like Starlink satellite device that he says Elon Musk gave him, which Starlink satellite device is not yet available for public consumption, so he can have fast internet to stream. I'm not making a statement. I'm just saying, There is a documentary I watched some time ago. I forget the name of the documentary now, but on the face of the documentary is the face of Patrice Lumumba. This documentary talks about how Louis Armstrong was actually used by the CIA, sent to Africa on a tour in Africa. And they thought they on this tour in Africa as a cultural exchange and to do music, etc. It turns out that the CIA was actually using them to surveil the country, to gain access to the leaders of those countries. Because when a star that big arrives in that country, guess what? The leaders of the country will want to meet with him. And he then later found out that this is what the CIA was actually doing. It's horrifying stuff. That's why, as much as I love what iShowSpeed was doing in Africa, there's a part of my conspiratorial brain that looks at this and goes, So this kid came to Africa, went to all of these countries, and was carrying this like Starlink satellite device that he says Elon Musk gave him, which Starlink satellite device is not yet available for public consumption, so he can have fast internet to stream. I'm not making a statement. I'm just saying, there is a
I love the way that human beings communicate. I know that it's a little bit off topic, but I really, really enjoy, as I've gotten older in age. I'm sounding like an uncle, huh? When I was back when I was your age. But as I've gotten older, I realized how much I enjoy the different sounds that human beings can make. And now it's globally accepted in any culture. That means that you're thinking. And when did the rest of the world catch with that? I know maybe that's a conversation for another day, but it's so interesting on how human beings can communicate. And everybody knows, even a child knows you're thinking. That's crazy. All right. So that's a lot. I know, guys. Shoot the breeze topic number 5, world tour or surveillance. We are watching in the background now. Hopefully maybe you can catch the subtitles. This is Vusi T. He's really popular, a popular South African, not just financial guru, maybe you can even call him a giant. I'm not sure. I never looked up his net worth. It's none of my business, really, unless you want to partner with the Empowerment Network, Vusi T. If you happen to catch this, Vusi T, we have the Empowerment Network here in Omaha, Nebraska. Stay until the end of the show. We can give you more information. What's going on, huh? But nonetheless, he's also an intellectual. He enjoys questioning things. And so he's questioning on, hey, this recent tour that streamer Darren Watkins Jr. out of Cincinnati, Ohio, goes by iShowSpeed. When he did his Africa and Caribbean tour, he used Elon Musk's Starlink satellite to have internet available in the most remote of areas in the African continent, and possibly even the Caribbean as well. No offense to the Caribbean. I'm just saying, I don't know. But what we do know is that this same scene played out over 60 years ago with jazz great, trumpet great Louis Armstrong when he visited Africa. He was welcomed, but also it was later found out by him and his team that this had CIA written all over it, and they just needed access into being welcomed into Africa. And why not? People are going to accept Louis Armstrong. Why not? But he's asking the question, is this a world tour or surveillance from iShowSpeed's tour? We'll start off with Anthony. Anthony, well, before we start off with you, let's get into one comment. Trigger Happy says, this podcaster says interesting stuff, but he defends the xenophobia of South Africa a lot. I've actually been waiting to see something from him, Trigger Happy, about what just happened, that June 30th deadline. So please, if you have any specific videos, go ahead and send it to me on the Discord, because I've been waiting. I haven't seen him say anything yay or nay, but maybe just I don't pay too much attention to this guy. I just know that he's really good with finances. Anthony, what say you on this Shoot the Breeze topic? Last Shoot the Breeze topic: world tour or surveillance, based on what you heard, what you see.
Yeah. Okay. Hey. Okay. First of all, to say, look here, Trigger Happy was right. I've checked out some of this guy's stuff before too. Now I'm not dissing him or nothing, but I mean he has said what Trigger Happy said was true. I mean I've actually heard him say it. Like defend some of that xenophobia stuff. So we kind of sometimes you have to check the source. Sometimes because he had said some pro South African with the organization, the movements that's doing all of that shit. He has kind of you know, said some pro them shit, you know, some pro Afrophobia shit. So yeah, you know, we had to kind of look at him a little bit. But okay, of course, Jagadero, of course, you know, those when those black musicians, because there was a lot of them in the 50s and 60s. Because remember, we got to put it in context. What period of time this was? This was during the Cold War, the so-called Cold War between the U.S. and the Soviet Union, the Eastern Bloc and the Western Bloc. You know what I'm saying? America, you know, the State Department sending artists all over Africa, all over the developing world, different places. You know, Louis Armstrong was one of them because he was a very popular artist, you know, and beloved among a lot of people. So yeah, you know, let's use him. And like I said, when he went, you know, he didn't have no idea of that. You know, hey, I just wanted to go play some music. Like you said, and they later found out. But what it was actually, I don't know, Koku, I think that we had talked about this a long time ago. We had mentioned this. Remember, Dave Chappelle's mother was like she worked somewhere like in a State Department or somewhere where she went on that trip.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, she went on that trip because she met Patrice Lumumba. She met Patrice Lumumba and struggled kind of like a friendship with him and everything. And you know, and she met like Congolese officials and everything. And basically like she knew what was up. She knew what was happening. But like I think the brother Max Roach, the great jazz drummer, and his wife Abby Lincoln, they also went. And they kind of like had kind of seen what the play was, because it was like the year at that following year when Patrice was when they murdered Patrice, you know, that they led like the protest thing at the United Nations, you know, against the United States government, you know, for what had happened to Patrice Lumumba. You know, Abby Lincoln, Max Roach, and, you know, some other prominent black musicians and Pan-Africanism, you know, Brother Malcolm now. They was with Brother Malcolm now, you know, because like they had kind of seen the play happen too, you know, a little bit after that happened. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you know, so I mean, of course, yeah, you know, that's, you know, the government, you know, they do that. I mean, and they didn't just do it in Africa, they did it everywhere. You know, I mean, you know, sent these like cultural ambassadors, you know, and these people not knowing, you know, well, we just think it's a cultural thing. We just going to, you know, like I remember in 1970, I was just looking at this the other night before last, the Soul to Soul concert, you know, that was happening in Ghana in 1971, where they sent all of these black artists, Wilson Pickett, Ike Tina Turner, you know, the Voices of East Harlem, a whole bunch of groups, you know, over there, you know, for this big goodwill thing to Ghana. Now that was right after them coups. That was a few years after Nkrumah was overthrown, and they had a series of coups then, like in 68, 69, going into the 70s. You know, trying to play them Cold War politics, trying to get Ghana, you know, trying to get these nations on their side, you know, for the Cold War thing, because, you know, you had, like I said, you had the Eastern Bloc, the Western Bloc going back and forth. So they did things like that. James Brown, I remember he went to Nigeria like in 1970. So they did that a lot. They did it a whole lot. Use artists to do that. And like, you know, for the most part, those artists didn't know what was happening. Like, if they might have found that later on, or somebody might have, you know, some Pan-Africanist brother or sister might have put it in their ear or something like that. And I just want, before I knock off, I just say just one thing, what Koku was talking about before you started the prompt. Booker T, Jagadero, this is what happened. Okay, now you had a brother from here, from the United States, who went to the Congo, and his name was George Washington Williams. And he wrote all about the atrocities, the bullshit. See, the Belgian government sent him there. He went on their auspices, like, to show her, they trying to say like how good they were doing for the people, you know, bringing modernity and all of this little Christianity and all this little bullshit. But he went there and he seen the real shit. No, he didn't go to the places that they designated him to go. He went and he seen the atrocities of cutting off people's arms and hands and limbs and killing people, you know, in which millions of Congolese people died. Well, he seen that and he came back to the United States and he met Booker T. Washington, and he let Booker T. Washington know about it. Booker T. started spreading the news around, you know, because, you know, Booker T. was a big guy, you know, and he had the means to spread stuff, you know, on a wider base. He started spreading it, and what happened, The government in Belgium, King Leopold, they tried to lure Booker T to Belgium to get him because he was spreading all the information about the atrocities going on in the Congo. Yeah, actually, they tried to get Booker T to come to Belgium so they could get him because he was spreading all that information. But I just want to throw that tidbit in, like the piggyback on what Koku was saying.
I appreciate it, Anthony. Me myself, I was just looking at George Washington Williams's biography. Pretty impressive, man. It lets me know. It lets me know. I already knew that I wasn't doing enough. I know now that I'm not doing enough, man. You guys always put people, men and women, in the chat or even on the panel, and I look them up and I go, oh, I got a long way to go. This guy, hey, man, this guy has a resume. Hey, and he was in direct communication with no matter what our feelings, of course, King Leopold can rest in piss for the rest of his fucking eternity, right? But to even be like it's like having the open communication with any head of state. That's like, who the hell are you? Like, just real quick before we get into Koku's thoughts here. I spent some time in Kenya because my biological father is still there. And one of the things that's really interesting is that here in the United States, it's not uncommon to rub shoulders with, let me name a politician. I know this guy's controversial, but nonetheless, he's a politician, Byron Scott. Right, I think that's out of South Carolina. It's not uncommon for somebody to be like, "Oh yeah." Byron Scott. His son plays, or his daughter. In Kenya, to know a politician. Like, you're almost set. You're almost set, even if you know a politician. So, and I know in the United States it might be a little different, but like to rub shoulders with any politician in again, I'm only going to speak for Kenya. Maybe it's like that, in other African countries, but it's not easy. It's not easy. Like, what? Where did you get to meet a politician? It's like, how did that even happen? And the way that, like, I seen a video just recently. If it wasn't this month, it was last month, of Obama walking, and there were some black women that just happened to just be at some place that he was gonna be at. So he's walking, and he's jovial. He's the classic Obama that we know. A former president in Kenya, you can't just see them walking in the streets. No, and even with that, like, they said, "Oh, can we get a picture with you?" The way that bodyguards would be shoving you out the way. Like, bro, you would go flying. Don't forget asking for a photo op. So it's just, you're talking about George Washington Williams. I'm looking at his resume, Anthony, and I'm just like, gosh, damn, I'm nowhere near doing enough. But that's besides the point. Goku, Shoot the Breeze, topic number 5, world tour or Savannah's, based on what you heard, seen from Vusi and Anthony. What say you?
Yeah, Anthony always can bring the history. By the way, I don't know if black folks still watch Tarzan. When I was a kid, black folks used to watch Tarzan like crazy, but I don't know if black folks still watch Tarzan. But what's his name played George Washington. Samuel L. Jackson actually played him in one of the last Tarzan movies they made. Just FYI. But yeah, what Anthony said about the history of it is true, and so I'm the kind of person who believes that history teaches knowledge. That's something that they used to preach back home. My grandfather used to say all the time: history teaches knowledge. And so I think that, if speed is going into these rural parts of Africa and the Caribbean, and Elon Musk hands him a Starlink. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's some surveillance going on, right? There's mappings of people's movements or whatever it is. But there's some surveillance going on, you know. Back in the day, there used to be a joke in TV where if you were locked up, you were behind bars, your wife will come and she'll bring you a cake that she baked. And the joke was always that there was some file in the cake and you're gonna break yourself out of jail. So if this guy hands you some technology, you better believe there's some surveillance going on. But I want to take it to a slightly different area, a more modern era. Now, people say it's conspiracy, but there's the USAID, that I think has been defunded now. But for a while there was accusations that outfit of the government was propping up hip hop, particularly the negative hip hop, and was exporting it to, you know, Africa and the Caribbean and stuff like that. So this is why you'll see, just to throw out a name, ASAP Rocky or something, over in Nigeria. It was so that they can spread their propaganda, the American propaganda, through rap, hip hop, to these, you know, African folks or Caribbean folks. As a matter of fact, a lot of people might not know, but like about 10 years ago in Cuba, America did that same thing again. The CIA was involved in that one. They tried to get in there and put some backing behind two Cuban hip hop artists, who wasn't too keen on, you know, the establishment. And the idea was that they were going to push these guys who were going to push this anti-establishment music that was going to get the youth all frenzied. Right? This is why I always talk about you got to get to the youth. They were going to get the youth all frenzied, and hopefully lead that into an overthrow of the government, which I find very interesting. So yeah, so you know, I just got to be honest. The musicians of the past, like Anthony said, they might very well not have recognized how far America would go to carry out some of the things that they do. That might be true, although part of me always feels it difficult to accept, considering the times that these guys were big. They knew they knew how America ruled. Maybe not so much on the international space, but they knew how America ruled against our people. So I find that a difficulty to accept sometimes. But it is true and very possible that they didn't know no better. They was just going to. But you see a guy like Speed, even though he's a young brother, someone around him should have eyed that with suspicion. And this is why these conversations that we have, we can't just be having it amongst people who already know. This is why we got to try to get more people to come in who don't know, but who are curious about things. Something don't sit too right with them, so they want to know if it also doesn't sit too right with you. And that's when we got to tell them, like, yeah, this white guy, tech billionaire, industrialist, whatever the fuck he is, Elon Musty, he hands you this device. There needs to be some questions here. There needs to be some questions, because Speed is a young fellow, but he's not handled. He doesn't handle himself. He has his father and all kinds of different people around him. Something has to be understood here, you know? So I guess that's where I will take the conversation, that it's probably surveillance. At the very least, like Culture and Education in the chat said, at the very minimum, it's propaganda. I'll land my plane there. Thank you.
This is. Oh, go ahead, Anthony.
I'm sorry, Jackado. I was just going to go after Koku. I mean, and you know Koku, definitely was surveillance. We know that 100%. Because think about this, Koku. Remember when Malcolm went to Egypt, and you know Malcolm didn't have nothing to do with them crackers. But when Malcolm went to Egypt, they surveilled him.
Yep.
No, they knew everything he was doing, and even tried to poison him. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they did poison him. They did poison him. He damn near died. I mean, so, you know, we know it was definitely surveillance. It was definitely surveillance. I would say this, Coco, in the case of I Show Speed, I would say that I would be more like, yeah, you know, they probably told them about it. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm just saying, from hearing that part right there about, that's y'all saying Elon Musk giving him some device. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know about that. I didn't know that. So, I mean, that right there, I'm gonna say, you know what? And his people around him, somebody probably did tell him something. You know, I put it this way: it wouldn't what the word I'm looking for? You know, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised because see, other people were saying the same thing. You know, other Africans on the continent, you know, were saying like, you know, why is this guy I Show Speed coming, you know, to Africa and doing this and to the Caribbean and saying that, you know, in Jamaica, I give him a pass on that because Andrew Holness, he already the Uncle Tom president anyway. So what you got to spy on him for? You know, he loved him. He they man down there. But I'm saying like in Africa, yeah, in different places, you know, I would say that I can see it happening, yeah. But I just think Coco, think of Louis Armstrong. Now, this is a country boy from Louisiana. You know what I'm saying? He was, you know, and you know, he came up in that time like, you know, he knew about old segregation and Jim Crow and all that, and you know, and basically like being a good Negro. You know what I'm saying? And not rocking the boat. It probably didn't even ask nothing about it. Wouldn't worry about nothing like that. Like I said, like y'all say, he later found out, but probably at the time, he probably didn't know nothing about that. You know, Louis, he just wanted to go over there and play his horn, you know, and be a good way. You know, he was already known as America's favorite uncle and everything. But then again, I could be wrong. But I just think, you know, when I think of Louis, he had that sophisticated kind of mind as far as like a Pan-Africanist type mind that we have to say, hold up, man, look here, this is some slick shit right here. You know, I don't know about this. This is some slick shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can see it with somebody else like a Quincy Jones because he went too. Like, you know, he was 25. They use him. No, you know, Quincy, you know, we don't give a damn about Quincy Jones anyway. We already know what kind of Negro he was. But you know, old man like Louis, I think Louis probably wasn't paying no attention to no shit like that. And then when he found out, he probably like, what? I can't believe that shit. You know what I'm saying? Because he didn't have that kind of black consciousness that we have now. But like others who went, like Abby Lincoln, them, Max Road, them, they knew what time it was. They seen the play. They knew what time, and they talked about it. It meant, like I said, when Patrice got assassinated, they were the main ones out there leading the protests against the government. You know, they knew about that. They figured it out. You know, I just think, I mean, it's a 50-50 thing, Coco. You know what? Hey, you could be right. It could be, you could be right. We don't know. We went back there. You know, and I would probably, if I just had to say, well, which way I'm gonna go, I would probably lean more towards you right. You know what I'm saying? But like with Speed, them definitely, I think it's definitely a strong chance. Yeah, that's what that was.
I agree, Anthony. And you know what? It's actually you made me consider that maybe our boy, the trumpet player, he just wasn't savvy. He just wasn't up on it. He was happy to take his lady because his wife went. He was happy to take his wife and play something for her in front of the pyramids or the Sphinx. You know what I mean? So it's possible. But you're right about that too. And I thought to say it, but I decided to let me pull back from being myself a little bit. But Speed and them probably were told what was going on, what you're carrying this thing for. You know what I mean? Because again, in this day and age, most black folks, they see a white person hand them something, and be like, "What's that? What's that for?" So they probably told him. You know, in the chat I see. I sound like the host now, but in the chat I see Trigger Happy had asked a question for Speed's tour. What would be the objective or target of surveillance. You know, I remember reading something some years ago. Africa and parts of the Caribbean have some dead zones, so to speak, where they can't really run internet and stuff. I remember Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook had an initiative that they was running easy 10 years ago, probably more at this point, where they were testing out using these solar powered drones, essentially. This is a little bit before drones became commercial. And they were going to use these solar powered drones to transmit internet down into some of these dense so-called dark spots in Africa. I bet Elon was like, you know what? This foot soldier here, this foot soldier speed, let him do that work. You know what I mean? Let him give us the baseline of how far off we are from being able to produce. And like I said last week, because our people are sitting around waiting for this white man to come and do some shit, when the white man comes and brings you the fucking internet next that you've probably been hearing about, right? That you probably have had some limited access to, right? Is yay the white man again. Oh, look, the white man came and brought me internet to my house. You know, and you know, that's because you're sitting around. We should have figured out how to get around these people's internet because it's just a surveillance tool. We should have been figured that out. You know what I mean? And that goes back to the conversation we had earlier about the distribution networks between the restaurateurs, black restaurateurs, and black farmers, and all the people in between that. Like, dog, you guys are sitting in your restaurant expecting who to figure this out? You expecting the average black person who's just hungry and want to come and eat some food from their hometown or from their region, right? Some magusi soup, right? Like you, or you know, some doubles from Trinidad or something. Like you running the store, and it's not dawning on you. Hey, maybe I should try to cut the cost for my customers. Maybe I should get on my my walking shoes and get out there and start building some connections. And it's the same thing I find with the continent and the Caribbean. It's time for us to stop sitting around waiting for some, because inevitably some white guy with and you're gonna owe him. You're gonna owe him. Either you're gonna owe him financially or you're gonna owe him as far as your mentality goes. He has to be God now. I owe this guy. I can't pay him. He came here and did a thing that we didn't do. None of our engineers and guys who go off to go learn computer programming came back and did this stuff for us. So yeah, I owe this guy. I gotta look. Either I pay him or I gotta look at him as God. Or we're just sitting around waiting for these guys to come and do it, right? And these guys are slick. The most when our ancestors said white devils, they know what they was talking about. These guys are demons, dog. How did Walter Rodney die? Off topic a little bit. How did Walter Rodney die? Some childhood friend of his say, hey, check out this walkie-talkie. You go down there with this other walkie-talkie. And some white guy gave this guy this walkie-talkie, this pair of walkie-talkies. Sent our brethren Walter Rodney down the street thinking, oh, it's my brethren. We play on a walkie-talkie, click the thing and it blows up and kills him. You're going to pay one way or the other the longer you sit down and wait. So these guys who run the restaurants, these guys who are musicians and influencers, well, they have a brain too. Use your damn brain. What is this white guy coming around you for? It's for nothing good. You're gonna owe this guy, and we collectively gonna owe this guy something. So when we see our mama and them have a white picture of a white man up on the wall next to a cross, there's a reason why that's happening. There's a reason why that's happening. You're gonna pay the piper one way or the other. And that's what's happening. That's what this prompt to me is about. This prompt is about the idea that, you know, you let this white man put you on a tour back in the 60s or whatever to go to there. Yeah, there's something he's getting back for that. Oh, he told you could bring your wife too? I mean, got a photographer who'll take a picture of you in front of the Sphinx with you playing. Yeah, there's a price for that. I show speed. You want to go off? We'll monetize you when you put your video, when you stream your videos. We'll monetize you. Put some money in your pockets through endorsements, this, that, and the other. Oh, but by the way, take this with you when you go. It's just the reality of it. And all of us are supposed to recognize this by now, except for those of us who absolutely keep ourselves out the loop of anything that makes sense, anything positive, anything conscious. But the average one of us should figure this out by now. I've talked long enough. I'm sorry. I'll land my plane, man. You guys continue.
Appreciate it, fellas. In the chat, Trigger Happy says the West has mastered putting a defense system against revolutionaries. Call them black identity extremists, as we saw with the first term. Or was it Biden's term? Whichever one here recently in the United States, we found out that the FBI has labeled BIE, black identity extremists, as the number one threat to domestic policy in the United States. They want to take Africa to prevent state uprisings, to prevent the Sahel from forming. It's such a big proponent of AI, IL. I don't know what IL is. You're going to have to let me know, Trigger Happy. And surveillance technology. And they want more of Africa as a means of controlling regular populations. And then Lord of Slaughter says 100. Coco, you had said, you know, how Walter Rodney was killed. A kid was given a walkie-talkie, and subsequently it led to his death, not realizing the walkie-talkie was an explosive device that was planted in. It kind of reminds me of, please, YouTube, don't flag this. But I think those of us are pretty familiar with, hopefully, maybe some of us are familiar with Israel's Mossad using is it a beeper, a pager? I'm not 100% sure, but like they used to explode in somebody's hand. Maybe that's where Mossad got that from, because up until you just said that, Koku, I did not, I never, I guess, ventured out and researched on how Walter Rodney passed away. I bring that up because when I was going to school in Minnesota, I lived in Minneapolis. Minneapolis is home to, in the summertime, probably the most street festivals that I've ever seen in my life. It seemed like every single weekend there was not only just one, there was several different street festivals. One of those street festivals, my ex now, this Nigerian woman, we went to a street festival, and one of the food vendors was this white couple, white woman, white man. And they were giving free samples of their bread that they were selling. Now, I just didn't want to eat, just period. I just didn't want to eat. So what was interesting is that the exchange that happened. So the white guy, he said, "Hey, we got bread. Would you guys like to try some?" And my ex at the time, or my girlfriend at the time, but my ex now, proceeded to try the bread. I just didn't want to eat. And she ate, and then he looked at me. "Hey, do you want to sample some bread?" I said, "No." He goes, "Are you sure?" I said, "Oh, I'm okay." And then he asked me a third time. I said, "Nah." And he goes, "Come on." Now there's a fourth attempt for me to try this bread. And it always stuck out to me, like, why was he so persistent into me sampling this bread. One can say, well, it's innocent. Jacadero, you're a conspiracy theorist. I don't think there was anything behind that. He was trying to sell this bread. Maybe if you like the sample, you buy the bread. But it did always stand out to me. Like, what was this guy sent? Was there something in these samples? Or was there something in my sample specifically? Because my girlfriend, she didn't end up getting sick. But nonetheless, it always stuck out to me. So I'm wondering if that kid didn't accept the walkie-talkie, would what would have happened? Hey, here's these walkie-talkies. And where did this kid meet this white guy? Again, I say this to say most black kids that I know, they're not just accepting things now. One can say, well, it was an electronic device, especially back then. Hey, who wouldn't just take like a walkie-talkie, especially something that maybe you haven't seen before? But go ahead, Anthony.
Hey, Jacadero. Okay, when we growed up, like in the hood, in every black family, probably other people too, but one thing I know, every mama, every daddy told us one thing: don't take no wooden nickels. That's what they used to always say: don't take no wooden nickels. Don't take shit from strangers. Don't take candy from strangers. Don't take nothing from strangers. What I want to say, I remember like me and Forecast, we were rapping like last night. We did a show, and Koku, I wanted Koku to come back up for a minute. Koku, you remember when you used to always had that statement when you used to make about the barrel maker? Could you explain that a little bit more? Yeah, because I remember probably about 5-6 years ago, I remember you used to talk about that, about the barrel maker.
Hold on, now I need to kind of remember because it's been a while. Tell me more about your conversation with Forecast, and then I'll tell you.
Okay, it was basically like what we was talking about now, about like these white folks who like how we drink the liquor, they make the liquor. You know what I'm saying? And how it's like if you want to buy the liquor, you got to pay his price. Stuff like that. That was the concept we used to talk about the barrel maker. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's essentially I got that from somewhere. I don't remember where, but yeah, there's a cost. There's a cost, and you're gonna pay that cost one way or the other. You know what I mean? Look at what's the brother's name right now? Judas and the Black Messiah. Why can't I think of his name right now? The guy who sets him up to be killed by the Chicago police and almost kill his baby and his wife. That guy was caught doing some shit. If I remember correctly, I think it was like he had a bunch of tickets or something, like speeding tickets or something like that, or maybe he was trying to steal a car. I can't remember now, but yeah, Fred Hampton. Thank you, Lord Slaughter. And if you're afraid to do time because of these tickets or whatever it was that you was doing, all right, we have a way out for you though. Give us the map for this guy, for Fred Hampton's house layout. The barrel maker will always make back his money, man. The barrel maker will always make it back. So by the way, with Walter Rodney, they were grown people. Well, they were about 40 years old. It was just, it's kind of, and the friend obviously had to be working with them people. Because like y'all said, we don't take nothing from those strangers, much less a white stranger. If you ever go somewhere with a child and a white guy or a white person handing out some candy or something, you'll notice something about black children. They look at the parents first. Huh? Can I take this? No. Oh, you know what I mean? We don't just take stuff. So it had to be his friend. This was his childhood friend. They were around 40 years old. If I remember, I think Walter only died around 39 or something like that. Right? And it's kind of a Caribbean thing. You guys, where you're from, you guys may do it too. We have this thing of like, well, go along now. You go down there. Let's try this thing out. Because we saw that type of shit on TV, walkie-talkies and all this kind of stuff. And he went down there and pressed the button and got his head blown off. These guys don't just give you some shit for nothing. Right? And as a matter of fact, let me take that back. Maybe his friend wasn't even working with them people, but he took something from some strangers. He took these walkie-talkies and went down there and caused this guy his life. You know what I mean? We have to be very careful about how we deal with these folks. One of the things we talked about last week was about this religion thing again in the black community. And what I find so hurtful and heinous, to be honest, for all the black Christians and Muslims that we have that talk about demons and devils and shaitan and all this kind of stuff. But in the real world, you guys can't recognize the demon, the devil, the Satan. You guys still just shaking your head at what these other people do. You guys don't recognize that's the same type of evil they was talking about in them books that y'all hold so dearly. You can't recognize a demon when you see one. So why aren't you getting the rest of us to see the demon over there? You know, but anyway, like I said, I'll land my plane, man. You guys continue.
Man, very, very. It's a lot to think about. Again, I'm just. Now you got me, Coco. You got me now thinking. I might do some research on the death of Walter Rodney, because I had no idea that it was a child. And where did this child, like, why?
No, a childhood friend. So they were both like adults. If I remember correctly, they were both adults.
Okay. Well, I guess, yeah, but now it makes more sense, because I'm like, where would a child be talking with a random man? But yeah, nonetheless, a childhood friend. Very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. Again, it brings me back to that. I can't help it, but now think about, I call it the bread fiasco. Hey, you need to try this bread. I'm okay. No, you need to try it. And it's like, why are you being so persistent? Now, my suspicion is up, because you done asked me 3 times. Twice is okay. But now 3 times. And then a 4th time. Now I'm really suspicious. Now I'm like, bro, there's something in this bread. And I don't think you're trying to sell it just to be a good salesman. I think, you might know who I am. In the chat, Lord of Slaughter says, what God sends their word via the demons? Trigger Happy also says, which should make them question, why share a religious community with those who are not trustworthy, even when continue their idea? Trigger Happy says, you will get some black Muslims, they can agree that Arabs suck, but they will say Islam doesn't belong to the Arabs. They can't let it go. Let's go. Come on, Trigger Happy. Let's go. I usually try to keep this story to myself and to people that are close to me, but I'm going to tell it. I don't know if it's a story about persistence. One could look at it and say it's a story about persistence, and it's a story about saying, that's an obstacle. I'm not going to let it. But just Trigger Happy really triggered something in me. Huh? You like that, Trigger Happy? And it's a story of my stepfather. For those that don't know, my stepfather, of South Sudanese nationality. When he met my mom in Kenya, he was actually on another path, a whole nother path. The United States was not in his realm of thinking at the moment. So before he met my mom, he was already in Nairobi. And he said he was going to, for those that have been to Nairobi, the biggest masjid because he's a Muslim, the biggest masjid in Nairobi is Jamia Mosque. So he used to frequent, if not all 4 prayers, all 4, because as a Muslim, it's 5 obligatory prayers during the day and night. So majority of his prayers, he would just go to the masjid. And so there happened to be a scholar there from Saudi Arabia, an Arab scholar. Flow with me a little bit, guys. And so after seeing my dad presumably there multiple times on a consistent basis, the Arab scholar approached him and said, "Hey, you're one of the very few Africans that come in here, and instead of praying at home, at work, or wherever, you come here to pray. Yo, let me pick your brain. How did you get to be who you are today? I see how pious you are. You know how it is, guys." And so my dad said, I grew up with this. My father and his father before him were Muslims, and I'm just continuing it. And the guys are like, okay, hey, you're here in Kenya, what are your plans? My stepfather said, I plan actually to be like you, become a scholar, and things first, go to Saudi Arabia and get all the knowledge that I can be and be a certified scholar in Saudi Arabia. And the Arab man said to him, are you ready for this, Anthony? The Arab man said to him, they'll never accept you in Saudi Arabia. You'll never be a scholar of Islam. Now, you would think, some of us would think that it would then take my dad, it would then dissuade my dad and say, man, what are you talking about? Or say, who cares about this religion? Hey, I'm having an Arab. And again, I got to make the obligatory trip to Mecca, which is in Saudi Arabia, to become the best of the Muslims, right? Instead, my dad said, this guy's talking nonsense. And he still continues, to be Muslim to this day. Yeah, I say that to say with Trigger Happy saying, Black Muslims, they can agree that Arabs suck, but they will say Islam doesn't belong to them. This talks about a lot of us, whether it's religion or even ideologies. Go ahead, Anthony.
Jagadero, I want to ask one question. If they say, okay, well, I hear the black, I've heard, hey, I was almost converted to be a black Muslim when I was 19. I sent in the X and everything. Okay, but look here. If they say that it don't belong to the Arabs, answer me this one question. Why do you, if you're a true Muslim, you know what I'm saying? If you're a real hardcore, dedicated Muslim, why you got to change your name to an Arab name? You know what I'm saying? A religious name. Why you had to become Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? You know what I'm saying? To convert to Islam. You know what I'm saying? Why you had to change your name? Huh?
Leave alone changing the name. That's one thing.
Yeah. I mean, why you have to change your name? Hey, why do you have to change your name? Why do you have to go on a pilgrimage to the city of Mecca and roll around and walk around the Kaaba, which was a place where before Islam, all they had was pagan idols that they used to worship where they god Allah come from. You know what I'm saying? If it wasn't about being Arab.
So that's the frustrating thing that had me leave Islam during the 2010s is that this religion, you guys might not say that, okay, hey, it's not Arab nationalism or Arab suck, but yet the religion itself, it centers around the Arab world. I got to go to Mecca. I have to speak Arabic in order to pray. To have the highest chance that my prayer is going to be answered, it has to be in their language. It can't be in Yoruba. It can't be in Swahili. It can't be in Hausa. It can't be in Lingala. It has to be. The name thing is, whatever, because some Muslims will tell you, oh, no, I know a Muslim, his name is Peter. I know a Muslim, his name is Jesus, actually, or, whatever. But this religion is centered. So what does this have to do with the topic, the current subtopic at hand? I think enough of us get caught up with this ideology that just says, you know what? Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Leave the baby. Just throw out the bathwater. And it's like,
okay, Jagadero, can I say I'll interrupt one more time, okay? If they're okay, let's not say don't throw the baby away with the bathwater when it comes to Islam. But check it out. When the Arabs came to Africa and they met your ancestors in Kenya, You know what I'm saying? Our ancestors in East Africa and Sudan and in West Africa, wherever they went, guess what? They made them throw the baby out with the bathwater with their beliefs. Hey, get rid of that traditional beliefs and all of that shit there. Get rid of that demon worship and all that shit and convert to Islam. Okay, so you can throw the baby out you can throw all of your stuff away, but don't throw stuff away with Islam. You see what I'm saying? The hypocrisy in that. Forget about being an African. Forget about your African belief system, your culture, and all that. And you have to throw all that away and become a Muslim. So, see, I'm saying the bottom line, it is about being an Arab, a cultural Arab. You know what I'm saying? You're honorary Arab if you black. You know what I'm saying? It is about that.
Thank you. In the chat, Lord of Slaughter agrees with you. He says, I'm throwing both if the baby isn't African. Yes, sir. Woo! Trigger Happy in the chat says, but the most important thing is to move away from demons. You have to move away from people who are two-faced and continue to be two-faced. Like I said before, we have to build our own thing. Islam is a macro culture. Religions are macro cultures. We can also build a macro culture if those religions drew from us. Brother Bakari says, and Allah only hear your prayer if you pray in Arabic. Yeah, yes, yeah, yep. But being the best in the system, Trigger Happy adds, all you did was become the best super soldier for their purpose and further validating the strength of their systems. You know, like, I'm not sure on Kenya necessarily, but there are some places in Central Africa where, you know, Muslims won't allow a village to practice animism, whatever their spiritual system is, because not only is there an ideology difference, but they're saying that, hey, you know, the way that things will work politically, financially, militarily, it won't work. And so, you know, I know that some of us don't like having these conversations because it, you know, it just outright says division. But it's no wonder why we have some of the problems that we have on the African continent and even, you know, the Caribbean. I know that for a while, if it still doesn't exist, Trinidad and Tobago is having the biggest issue with two different ideology of, they call them gangs, but I'm going to call them anti-government rebels, the quote unquote Muslims, and then the other gangs. And, you know, it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Trigger Happy says, basically, it's the same integrationist rhetoric many of our people have. They think our strength lies in providing or proving other racists wrong by rising in their system and being the best in their system. Pathetic. Pathetic. Huh? Hey. Trigger Happy also adds, Black Muslims will say, but we practice our culture too. Religion doesn't erase our culture. Malcolm said that same thing. Basically, syncretism. That's why I don't like syncretism. Our culture adds, I was listening to Dr. Nubia Kai yesterday, and she mentioned Saudi Arabia is 85% Black. She covers that the original Arabs are Black people, not the white ones. I think Dr. Ben Yakinen and Dr. John Henry Clark also covered this as well. And that may or may not be true. I've never been to the Mideast outside of an airport in Qatar. But nonetheless, if that's true, okay, that's true. But
it's not true. Hey, Jackadero, can I touch that real quick? Can I touch it real quick?
Please.
Okay. It's been this narrative for a long time that the original Arabs were Black. Let me run this down to you. The original people of the Arabian Peninsula, yeah, they were Black. They were Africans who lived out of Africa and went into Eurasia, into southern Eurasia. They went into places like the Arabian Peninsula. They went into Iraq, Iran, even in India. You see them today, the remnants of them today, now in southern India. You know what I'm saying? With the Dravidian people, you know what I'm saying? These dark-skinned Black people. These people are the descendants of Africans who lived a long time ago. But what I'm saying, on the Arabian thing, on the Arab thing, okay, these Africans who left out of Africa, who had first settled in the Arabian Peninsula, because, you know, Arabia wasn't a dry desert back then. You know, it was a forest cover. It was forest. That whole region, it was forest with lakes and rivers and streams. Okay, at that time when these Africans lived out of Africa, okay, they did not speak no Arabic language.
They didn't have no Arabic culture. They wouldn't worship it in Arabic and all that stuff there. What happened was later on, when you get around the 17th, 18th century, the 1600s BCE, you had Eurasian people who came down from the north, from about the Caucasus region, the southern Russia region, all these people, these different nomadic Indo-Aryan, Indo-European groups who assaulted the whole of southern Asia. They went into the Indus Valley in the 1600s and destroyed the Harappa civilization. You know what I'm saying? They destroyed the civilizations in Syria and all over the whole Levant region. You know what I'm saying? This was a time when you had like the fall of the Egyptian civilization and the collapse of the Hittites. You know, the same time where all these groups of people were moving in. These Eurasian people who made it down into Syria, Canaan, Palestine region, into the Arabian Peninsula, they displaced the black people, the dark-skinned people who were living in these places. They displaced them, absorbed them or outright killed them or ran them out, whatever, pushed them to the margins, whatever. These Eurasian people who came down here and populated that area of the Arabian Peninsula and later Iraq, these Semitic people that we know as these Semites, the Semitic people, these were the people who were the ancestors of the Arabs. This is where the Arabs come from. We hear this story all the time. I even heard Farrakhan and somebody, the mother tongue. They said, Farrakhan, I know Koku heard me. Koku, if I'm lying, cuss me out. He said the mother tongue of black people was Arabic. He said it. He said to him that our mother tongue was Arabic. You know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, he said we wouldn't that black at first and that our hair was like our eyebrows. You know what I'm saying? So, all this black Arab shit, that don't mean nothing, man. That's a bald-faced lie. That's just some shit that people created to fit a narrative. And some people, we got some of our people, let's face it, they with this whole thing like black, we indigenous to the planet. No, we indigenous to one place, Africa. Now, we left Africa and went other places. The only place we indigenous to is Africa. But when you hear people talking about this, well, the original Arabs were black. No, they wouldn't. This was Eurasian people coming down and mingling with the black people who were left, who didn't get killed or ran out the place or went somewhere else. That's what that was. African people were not no Arabs. We didn't speak no Arab language. Arab language didn't come from us. None of that shit. We spoke whatever we spoke in Africa. You know what I'm saying? Arab is not an African language. That is a Eurasian language from Eurasian people. So we're going to have to, and I know I'm not talking about you, brother, but I'm just saying, when we hear people talk about all this mess, that's some bullshit, man. And yeah, and you could go to Arabian Peninsula, especially in southern Arabian Peninsula, where the people are darker skinned, because they have, that mixture, a lot of Arab. They had slavery over there. They traffic Africans from East Africa and bought them there. You go through Yemen and Oman and places, yeah, you got black people over there. But if you look at what they call the pure Arabs, the Arabs over there, up around in the Central Arabia and all these places, man, these people white, these is white people. You know what I'm saying? Suntan white people. You know what I'm saying? Like you see the common Arabs, Arab people in parts of the so-called Middle East, Iraq and Syria, places like that. But no, we got to get off of that there about the Arabs, the original Arabs being black. No, the original people of the Arabian Peninsula were black, who lived there were black, until the Eurasians came and invaded and took over that place. And they became the people. They displaced them. But all that black Arab shit, man, that's just some bullshit that a lot of people be using for some talking points to justify Islam and stuff.
Woo-hoo! Hey, let's go ahead and let's give it to come on. In the chat, we got a lot. Lord of Slaughter said that they came from mountains and caves with the Euros. Trigger Happy says, yeah, Semitic languages likely came from Africa, and hence Arabic being related to Semitic. But you are dealing with Arab speakers who are deeply mixed with Persians, Turks, and Central Asians. Lord Asada says, indigenous to Africa, other hominids were outside of Africa and they were extinct. Trigger Happy adds, so it's no point pushing language by people who are largely Eurasian right now. And yeah, Yemen, Oman, they're an island called Socotra. Well, that has a lot of darker people there. Brother Bakar says, and they make shit too. Wesley Muhammad, and they just make shit too. Wesley Muhammad said that the word Arab mean black. And Anthony is absolutely right. Of course, Wesley Muhammad would say that. That's exactly what he would say. They were Cushites, not Arabs. All right. As much as I want to, do a tag team match on the Arabs, I could do that all day. I know that our panelists, just like you guys, you guys want to move forward. Koku, Anthony, any last thoughts before we go ahead and start to end this show? Any thoughts? Let me know.
No, well, real quick, I'm sorry I kind of diverted the conversation, but I can always bring it back to what the topic at hand is. But that statement I made about the Christians and the Muslims, you guys' training is in casting out and shunning demons, and I don't see y'all doing the job. I don't see y'all doing the job. I don't see y'all recognizing the demons, and the reason why I brought that up was because, whether you're Louis Armstrong or I Show Speed, you got these white folks backing you to travel internationally, particularly in Africa. You got to question what's the catch, especially when they hand you some shit and say, "Hey, take that with you." Well, what's the catch? What is this? And like Anthony said, in Speed's case, they probably told him straight up what it was. But with Louis Armstrong, they probably didn't. He was just happy to get a little meal stipend and take his wife and court her, which is dope, by the way. That picture with him and his wife in front of the Sphinx, it's a dope ass picture. But what is the cost? What comes with it? You know what I mean? So the idea of doing something that's in conjunction with these folks, the answer is always going to be there's some type of surveillance, some type of propaganda, etc., etc. So I'll leave it there.
Appreciate it, Koku. Anthony, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I was reading what this brother who said they about did I check out a book about a doctor, my eyes bad, man, a Dr. Nubia Cat. No, I haven't checked that out, but I'm gonna look into it though. But no, I mean my last words is not pretty much, like what Coco said, man. I just want to say one thing. Coco, did you see? I don't know if you've seen it. I sent you that video. Did you see that video? And I say, look how these white folks try to play in our face. Of the head of the white girl talking about she was the transracial thing. Talking about she's a white girl. Yeah, it's talking about she was a black woman. Then she was going to Africa, like did a DNA, whatever, all this, a straight up white girl. And then she was going to Africa like she accepted to the cookout and all that shit. You seen that shit, Coco?
Yeah,
I said, look at this bullshit.
I saw it today, and I responded with an emoji. This is why it's so damaging.
Yeah.
Not when black folks, in particular nowadays, is the FBA people. It's so damaging when black people say, "Oh, well, everyone comes from Africa." That's not how that works. We're not all African.
I mean, that's exactly what I'm saying, Coco. Exactly that's exactly what you just said. That's exactly what I was talking about.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, we all from Africa and everything. And now, that's this all a part of a recolonization program. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
We all from Africa. Yeah.
Man, I love this. I love this because we can go into so many different ways, especially one of my favorite punching bags is the FBA. Again, please, if you're FBA, don't feel discouraged. It's just more I look at it as simple.
Man, don't pay no attention to the FBA. Fuck them stupid Negroes with that plantation mentality.
Again, if you're FBA, ADOS, whatever it is that you identify as, you're more than invited to, share your thoughts, opinions on this show, you want to be a panelist, you want to be in the chat, please. I want all Black walks of life. Just because, hey, we might not get a chance to interact with you. All right. We got a lot going on in the chat. Man, you know what? Let's go ahead and read some of these. Only Africans come in Africa. Of course, Lord of Slaughter. I see you. Yes, sir. Okay, we got a lot. Anthony, this is all directed towards you, man. So let's go ahead and move on forward. Guys, as much as we like to shoot the breeze, You see me? You see what I did there? As much as we like to shoot the breeze, we also like to recognize what's going on. People, places, things, events. How do we do that? Shout outs. That's right. This is the time that you go ahead and recognize those things, people, places, things, events. So this is your moment. Koku, what say you? What shout outs do you have for this week?
Yeah, I'm going to shout you out. I'm going to shout you out because you learned tonight what it is to have to hold down a show by yourself. I did it as recently as last week, actually. Not the whole show, but first couple topics for sure. So shout out to you. I'm going to shout out to Anthony too. Anthony is one of the best people I've met in doing this stuff. A lot of you might not know this, but I've been familiar with Anthony for, years. I can't even, it must be 10 years now. Because, again, a lot of you,
2017.
Okay, 2017. Yeah, so it's almost 10 years, right? So a lot of you might not know, and I wish he was here to give him the shout out too. But Black Steel and I, years ago, 2017, 26. I want to say me and him started 2016, and then I met Anthony through comments in 2017. But we used to do a book club, Black Steel and I, and I remember when Anthony would comment. After a while, I think we did Dr. Bobby Wright's Menticide. And I started seeing these comments from, there was another guy named Trife Mac, I think was his name, and then there was Anthony. And, I always appreciated Anthony. If you guys only knew when we first started Shoot the Breeze, how many years I was trying to get Anthony and Black Steel to come on to the panel. So it's a pleasure to be on the panel as a panelist. So shout out to Jacadero for, again, experiencing what it is to kind of be talking by yourself. But you did a great job. Let me just say that too. Shout out to Anthony for lending his voice to the program when he can. I know he has those kids to look after and stuff, so I get it. But shout out to you two, and shout out to the chat, particularly Trigger Happy and stuff like that, who's always here every week and contributing to the conversation. And one last thing, if I may, I noticed that there's a conversation in the chat now concerning the book from the author that Anthony mentioned earlier. And I just want to say that, many times I think about a book club, doing a book club again, but I'll only do it if there's real participation. So if it's something that you guys think is necessary, that would be invited by the audience, by you guys who frequent around here, just let us know on the Discord or, drop a comment in the playback section of the episode. All right. You guys be good, man. Peace.
I appreciate it, Koku. And yeah, it's an honor. It's a privilege as well. Anthony, what say you? What's your shout outs for this week?
Oh yeah, man. First of all, I want to shout out you, Jacadero. Like I was trying, man. I had the children. They so damn bad. I had to watch them. If I take my eyes off of them, they'll get into some stuff, and I'm gonna get blamed. So I had to watch them. I had to stay in there, play with them, and everything. No, they wore me out, man. I'm getting old. But shout out to you, man, for handling the majority of the show, man. I mean, you really did it. You really did it, man. You really did it, man. And it was a joy to me. It's always a joy to me to even get on the show, man. And talk to all y'all brothers, man. But especially you, Jackadero, and your energy and everything is great. Shout out to Koku. Like I said, me and Koku go back a long way, man. And I was just thinking, like, I mean, it's times like when I ain't got nothing, when I'm just chilling, I'm bored, I ain't got nothing to do. I ain't got nothing to do. I go back and look at those old book clubs that Black Steel and Coco used to do. I mean, it was about 4 or 5 of them. You know what I'm saying? And I go back and look at them, and listen to them now. You know what I'm saying? So, man, yeah, we've been in it for a minute. And man, my shout out goes to my brother Obafemi, man, from out of Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Coco, they know him. He got a new album out, and it's called Warriors, Healers, and Builders. It just came out. It's a brand new album, Obafemi. It's called it's Warriors, Builders, and Healers, and it just dropped out, man. I listened at it. Some great music, man. You know how Obafemi rolled, man. It's all about blackness, all about us. And all about coming up and progress. So everybody try to check it out if you can, man. The new album about Brother Obafemi, man. Warriors, Healers, and Builders. And peace to the chat, peace to everybody who's on the panel, man, and just peace out to everybody, man. And Jackadero, man, you hang in there, man. You're doing great, man. You're doing great, man. And I know Koku's proud of you.
I appreciate it. It means a lot. It means more than what you guys know. Whether or not people get in here, it's not as big of a deal as what you guys might think. I can talk with the best of them. Clearly, yeah, right. I'm a big yapper. That's what they say among Gen Z now, huh? You just yap, and I love to yap. So, and especially, these are topics that I'm interested in. I like to hear different perspectives. So even when there's not people on the panel, when the chat is going, it just makes things that much smoother. But either way, I'm going to still yap. The show might not be a whole 4 hours, but we going to yap, though. We going to yap. So let's get to the chat. We got the shout-outs in the chat. Culture says, shout out to Brother Bakari for mentioning that restaurant called Garvey's. It reminded me of Amy Ashwood Garvey, who had her restaurant and club in London. London, isn't it? Where the Pan-African community would meet. Need more of those spaces. I like that. Brother Bakari shouts out to the host and to the panel and to the chat. Shout out to all the shout out I will be shouting out in the future. Culture says Papa Garvey's Earth Strong is on Monday. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. August 17th. If you guys don't know, it's Marcus Garvey's birthday, man. Especially if you're in New York, man, do something special. Do something special. I believe that his home is still intact. I don't know if it's somebody's living there, but do everything that you can to at least, go pay homage, man, especially if you're in the East Coast. Culture says, or Tree Happy says, Culture, I can't agree that they are African religions because they have foreign influences, but they definitely drew from African theology. I don't disagree with that. Culture says, shout out to all the Garveyites. Yeah. Trigger Happy has a lot. We'll let you guys read that. As far as my shout outs for today, I got 2 of them. Let me make it 3. Of course, shout out to all of you guys. Whether or not you guys participate, that doesn't mean anything. Remember, this is on a social media platform, and so when you guys hit the like button, it will get out there. One of the things that's really awesome about the internet is, it's still in its infancy. So we're still figuring things out. And one of the things that we're beginning to find out more and more about is that, stuff from like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, you guys will be surprised on how they become viral. Like somebody will take a news clip and be like, oh man, the way that guy was interviewed on the news. And now that's like a trend on TikTok. People will imitate that person. Who's to say that, something from this show, a 20-second clip won't go viral out there? I know the way that Black Steel loves to have his expletives. I love it. I actually look forward to that. I actually look forward to Black still cursing on air. And, who's to say that wouldn't go viral? Nonetheless, I mean, I say it all the time. Hitting that like button, sharing this, it helps the algorithm for like-minded individuals like yourself. So in the chat, Lord of Slaughter says, my shout outs is to the African Caribbean visa distribution. Yeah. So yeah, my shout out is to all of you guys. My second shout out is South Africa. I know. This summer, South Africa hasn't had the best image. But one thing that they did this week was there was a court ruling. Their highest court in the country stopped Shell, the people that, if you're in the United States, that provide gas for your guys' vehicles. They stopped Shell from drilling for oil. The Constitutional Court said the methods that they were going to use isn't right. Whatever the ruling reason was, nonetheless, this was sparked because locals, fishermen, activists, they said, hey, this is not all right. We weren't consulted. The government didn't even think about us, but we're bringing this. And it went all the way up to the highest court in South Africa. If you want to research more on it, just go and look at Shell versus South Africa on YouTube. Man, pretty fucking positive. I hate to curse, but man, that was solid. When I saw that, out of all the things South Africa didn't do this year right, they got that right. That's awesome. And again, it was literally started by locals, whether activists, fishermen. Nonetheless, it was people like you. So if you think that you're insignificant, that's a testament. I want you guys to hear me and hear me clearly. That is a flaming, fire-hot testament that even you as a civilian, you can do something. You can stop things, believe it or not. This was started by locals in South Africa. And imagine now Shell will not be drilling oil off of the coast of South Africa. Impressive. Oh, I get so passionate whenever I just think about it. That's impressive, to say the least, by locals. And then, last but not least, for those that don't already know, man, I'm Jacadero, proudly from Omaha, Nebraska. Man, we got a great thing here in Omaha, Nebraska. What is that great thing? You see it on your screen. It's the Empowerment Network, right? Yeah. The largest and the strongest Black organization here in the Midwest. And we partner with sister cities, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street. Yes. Empowerment Network is a part of that rebuilding Black Wall Street. Believe it or not, you can look us up. This is real. I'm not just saying this. Go ahead and look us up. Kansas City, Missouri, Houston, Texas, Memphis, Tennessee, Cincinnati, Ohio, and Lansing, Michigan, to say the least. But we do it all. We empower you. So if you're HVAC, electrician, real estate, finance, a professor, anything of the sort, we got you. Every year we host the Rebuilding a Village conference here in Omaha, Nebraska. Past keynote speakers were people like Magic Johnson, Eric Thomas. Yes. Boris Cujo. Yes. So this is your guys' open invite. Come one, come all. That's the Empowerment Network. And every year in May is the Rebuilding a Village conference. Visit us at www.empoweromaha.com, the strongest Black empowerment organization here in the streets. And then that's it, man. You guys, speaking of, I was at, it rained on Juneteenth this year, on June 19th. So the Juneteenth parade was actually held today. And I was a part of that. So I've been up since 4 a.m. Not to brag. This is not to say, oh, woe is me. No. It's to say that whenever Anthony and Koku and Bakari talk and say, hey, Jacadero, man, you're doing a great thing. Man, Khalid Muhammad, one of the prolific Black Muslims, rest in peace to him. You know, he said it best. Hold the line. We got to hold the line. No matter what's going on in my life, I love that I'm a part of holding the line, even if it's small. I love holding the line. I love us Black people. And I love that there's other Black people that love Black people. We are bombarded with the craziest imagery, the craziest of characters that spew the nastiest and most disgusting thing to build disappointment and failure among you. But it's individuals like your guys' selves that keep holding that line and say, no, there's a lot more of us that are proud of being Black, that are proud of being African. And I love that. I love that so much. I know I went on a tangent here, but man, I don't think you guys understand how much I love being Black. I love it. I love it. And this didn't just start yesterday. My parents used to talk to me all the time about the stuff that I would say as a kid. I love it. I love it. Growing up, I used to watch Michael Jackson, Mike Tyson, Mike Jordan as a Kenyan kid and just be like, man, those guys are awesome. Of course, my dad was awesome. My dad was always my first hero. But, you know, just seeing just how awesome Black imagery was. And then today, you know, you're stuck with whatever, the nonsense. Just know that if you have somebody in your life that you really care about that might be sliding into, for lack of a better term, being a coon, send them this way. This is the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Shoot the Breeze, episode 253. I'm Jacadero. And just remember one thing, guys. I love being African. I love you guys, and I know you guys love me, man. With that being said, get on with the rest of your guys' weekend. And remember, Khalid Muhammad said it best. Hold that line. Hold that gun!
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.